In this extraordinary chain, to the grandee's astonishment and horror, was the Lord of the Khanate himself. Select the imagination che khore khan da dum banda. Mawra gaib kare. Sekesta tay kheli nazuk jay rasda. Ki gufta bud ki people need but little to achieve happiness upon earth. Trust towards each other. Faris ibn Hattab as Herat bud the most pure-minded of sages. Sage ek wali ramaga, ek buzurg ra. Who said, people need but little to achieve happiness. बहुत कम की ज़रूरत है खुश होने के लिए लोगों को इस ज़मीन पर ज़्यादा की नहीं ज़रूरत और वो कम चीज़ क्या है जो थोड़ी सी मक़दार में भी होना काम हो जाएगा वो है trust towards each other. But that accomplishment is beyond the reach of the base-spirited. As Badzat ya as Kham achievement whose only Lord Badzad ashtor mishnasi whose own yak law dar yak qanun dar yak rule dar bari zindagi bari har cheez apply hai and that is self-interest ki mar cheez mila ho jaye fayde cheez tawre. And with that question we go to chapter 17. It would have been better if his head were cut off. Kinship, rishtadari, with such a dangerous rebel is fraught with menace. Bisiyar khatarnak hasta ki tuqazu ta'alluq beli. Sarazi bayad katshuna. I have ascertained beyond a shadow of doubt, O King of the age, that no ties of blood exist. Masabit monum ki qadazu rebel कि मैं खास लिंक ज़ीर बजूर करना गुफ्त क़ज़ी हिच ज़ाती ताल्लुक़ ना दरा ये वो genetic connection ना दरा. The soothsayer comes from a different family altogether, from a different village. शुरू सर खबर दरे कि वो मैं खास कि वक्त केस जोर करना भले नसरुद्दीन की चंद बंदी खाना होता ना वो एक कलंतरीन केस वो जोर करता बहुत के खतरनाक रेबल की बिसार मशहूर बहुत खिलाफ हुकूमत साजिशी बहुत बागी बहुत इर में खास कज़ू जोड़ दिया
मुल्ला साहिब
हाँ खोजा नसरुद्दीन रखी दिगा एक पसाउश ना दिगा फारिग नाशना लेकिन इसकी खोजा मात का रखत चाइनीज़ बुक रमाज कत बच्चा वरिश खानदान वरिश चिक्सा خیلی گبار گفت تو گبار گفت که یار تو دکان خمو سه نفر بودی اما تو معلومه که تو چهارم نفر هم تو لینگری دارو اونجی آپریشن کرد شغاف وزیره هم از رحیم بایی مرچنت را که او در کدام سلف انترست پساوا اور همی تا گرندی را که زوی توی درو چیز کجا سلمه که دی وقتی که ارزی بیر گفت که تو پس کم یک پرده یک دفعه و شمور دیگه دی کدام نظره دی خور سلمه که دین انتظار از چاینیز بکی و خان ये केस में ज़्यादा चरहत गुज़बाचा उन्होंने नफर माबूर नुम्तु तो जाइश कार को आलू रेसिस्टेंट हो लगांदा करनी
हाँ ना दू फुल पकड़ाई इस दालू
वहीना ले वक्त पेश किंग रज़दा गुफ्ता ये गर्दन ऐसी बड़ा मगर न सर माँ बिल्कुल कंफर्म करता हूँ कि क़ज़ू हिच ये वो इश्तिबाह वाश है ये दिखा फिर विलेज क़रीज़ी दिखा है क़बीलेज़ी दिखा है that does not prove anything तो चीज़ साबित नहीं है He may still be a relation, happily not a direct one. Shayad directly related nahi hai, but a distant one, dur ka rishtedari. And then what? He has never even met with Yarmat. Azuj ittalluq sabit na shda ki milawam shda basha Yarmat amu baghi. The spies mistook him for someone else. Ishtibai jasusa hai ki aur da yergir kida. He was seized by error, as galti. Once he has been seized and thrown into prison, why not cut his head off for safety's sake? We see no reasonable cause for abstaining. Revolt is much more serious than those Peshawar sorceries of yours. It is no joking matter. تو درو نمفهمی. ای پیشاوریا که فرار کرده خو خیره. یلی که تو مگیه تعلقش خزو باقیه ایر بالکل سیریس میگیری تو. ایلا دنی نیره. One Yarmat is enough for us. His doings have been recorded in wrinkles upon our face. Mingarni, any linar Yarmat sarazmo. Tol mekhayaz nabiriz ek nafar diga mamitr azad ra bora. Shak kara. O King of the age, far be it from me to show ignoble solitude for preserving the loathsome head of a despicable soothsayer. مارا میتر خیال کردن که ما میخوایم یک تعویضگر را کردن زور ما وڑاونا میتونم. I had in mind a matter of far more vital concern. لیکن از اینکه مهم گپ دن ما میخوایم شمار بگم. The strengthening of the throne. اینجا ما میخوایم که این تخت شما مزید مستحکم شنه. ابدالآباد که شما خان باشه. Then proceed. خب چی رقم؟ It was because I was grandi magadiyana. Bain Khan grandi qissa jariya. Did you get it? Then proceed magabugi nare. It was because I was prompted by these higher considerations that I have today brought the enfeebled camels of my reflections to the palace in order to cast them down upon their knees before the caravanserai of your royal might and give them to drink from the spring of your regal wisdom. قصیده میخوانم نفر دارم. مگه اینی مهم نکته ها بود که ما امروز اشترایی یعنی تشبیه میتقد اشترایی تفکری از ما را در محل اردم تا که اونا را در زانو بشندنم روی بروی کاروانسرای قدرت شاهی شما و اینها را بنوشانم از چشمه حکمت سلطنت شما.
خلاص تمام.
اوف منو ترز بتوالام زوالام مملو چه خان از درون نزیوالام شای. Stay, Grandi. بس صبر کتو. In future, you will please to write all such words down on paper beforehand and read them out to the master of ceremonies of our royal court. گوامو که تو نرایده نوشته کنه بس بیدی دزو اعلانگر که بله دایست پیش دربار تمام بیخانه نیچه معلوم بشه گوشایدم بی. And let him give them attentive hearing. Everybody گوش کن royal wisdom گفته چی مانا؟ بفرمایید تشریف بفرمایید. That's what we have increased in salary for. در باریار که ما سلری بال کدوم برای چیز برام مزید دغور گوش کنه attention pay کنه. To the master of ceremonies, words intended for the royal ear. فوراً مگه بالکل یہ حکم برای ماسٹر of مو ہر مجلسی کی بپامونا ایگو گیدرینگ را اور ماسٹر of ceremonies مگه که اینا را باید دگوشی شاه زمین بسیار طریقه نقدشنا. We have 20 of your viziers and each one speaks 2 hours. Then shall we sleep? مگر 20 تنا وزیره اگر اینا 2 घंटा هم گپ بزنه خمو بود خواهی بهتره دیگه. I hear and obey. اطاعت قربان. This last year we have cut off many a score of heads. پارسال مو کلو سرار قلم کده thanks to which the throne has been strengthened. जिसकी वजह से तख्त बहुत मुस्तहकम है. गिर के देखिए रेबेल बागी उड़ाओ कदम सरारा. There, you see, it is always useful. Would it not be still more useful at this stage to offer an example of imperial mercy? हमें वक्त नर्स देखी تمام شهر خبر شنو कि खान आजम कैसे بسیار रहमدل هم هستن. صرف این एग्जांपल شي
تو
شکرنی و
الو
if we release the soothsayer اگر تعویزگر را اعلا کنیم and make this known to the populace عوام را خبر کنیم through the town criers قد دول مرف زور زور اعلان مگر criers مگر would it not be reasonable to assume that their bosoms will expand with joy and they will cry out rejoicing, oh how happy are we, how blessed to dwell under the poisoned hand of our sovereign. Sultan ki dasti qudrat ke niche hum jeete hain, who warms us like the spring sun. Mystici aftabi bahari warid diradam garm kana. السبب الصادرة كتو فبليك راس هذا الشيء حزن بركو بسيار قصرار قلم كذي مردما بسيار ديبريسا كم ينام منام بدينجي بس مردما يشوف باشا فاني put that on paper grandi iram navishta and read it downstairs. Proceed emitter bas khandabor. Thus the throne acquires further support in the hearts of men. ये तख्त मजबूत है लेकिन पाया ऐसी बात किसी रिशा करना दमने कल्ब इंसान Methinks you're right, but he is nonetheless dangerous, this soothsayer. If he be a kingsman of a that danger is easily met, O king of the age, O Shah Zaman. Which masla nahi hai. First he is released, awal yala mi di mera, and the fact of it proclaimed abroad through the town criers, tamam khabar nim, an act of mercy, raham ki numaish ho gayi, and then within 2 or 3 weeks he is seized once more in the dead of the night. Nisb Shah Murim dusema aftabat girftar nahi mara, and promptly beheaded in my vault. The daftari khod khusar shir qalam mani. Whence no sound can escape. Who was soundproof at the khod khabari. Nezu torture chamber was sound brona mara. An act of precaution. Ehtiyat ke taur par. The first act will be an overt one. अवल नर की मोमनी वो तमाम दुनिया खबर ने रहम रहम आजा फारिग भाई रहमदिल बादशाह. The first act will be overt, will take covert. क्या नाम का covert operation? इसका खबर न शुद दा अखबार हम नमाद हमें दी briefing हम न शुद get it done मने फिल्मा में करने दिया. So the first act ki irmafku fariqku will be the act of, will be an overt and will be the act of mercy. The second a covert. Mercy and precaution supplement each other. Nijami azdat mashavas. Ek taraf raham mukani, ek taraf ehtiyat ram jari meli. Sarshram kalam mukani. Making for grandeur and will scintillate like 2 incomparable gems in the crown of our sun-like sublimity. وكده سورج رسالته عظمة الشان القرآن جلاله جلال القرآن. All that for the master of ceremonies downstairs. Have you finished, Grandee? فورا نار نوشته که بور بیرسن ده. Master of ceremony. صاحبي چی بگم دیگه؟ Majlis. The jar of my paltry thoughts has shown its bottom, sire. जो कुछ था वो मैंने खाली कर दिया जनाब. Finish हो गया. Good. Evening is drawing nigh already. Daro, sham masha. Your words have convinced us, Grandee. We approve your plan. مربور انجام بدي خوب plan हो गया. हम रहे हैं निशान भी हम एहतियात दूसरी हफ्ता चांस भी The gracious glance of my royal master kindles the lamp of joy in my bosom. I shall prepare this moment a farman for the release of the soothsayer. فوراً एक फरमान जारी मनिम की तावीज़गर रा इलाकी. And tomorrow at morn, any morning, the town criers shall apprise the populace of the Khan's will. कि इनका अभी लेटेस्ट फरमान आज ये आया है, so be it. Towards the evening, Khoja Nasreddin quitted his place of captivity, Bandi Khana Relakat, with a new robe, chapane taza, new boots, and a heavy purse in his girdle. All gifts of the grandee. He came forth from the gates of the fortress Azmane Darwaze Qila Burshut into the square, the Bale Chaukamat, over which the evening shadows already held sway. Saya Hai Drazi Sarisham. The first person he beheld, behold, dekho. So pay attention. The first person he beheld or observed without the gates. Without here means opposite of within in the old English. Ali within and outside maga. Like within and without. The first person he beheld without any outside the gates was the fat money changer in a costly robe. With the brass plate of his guild upon his breast, and a bridle in his hand. He had long been loitering there in the hope of obtaining admittance. Into the palace and laying his complaint at the royal feet. At the sight of Khoja Nasreddin, his fat, perspiring, shiny face lit up with joy. They have released you, soothsayer? Oh, what a great joy! My horses shall be returned to me then. I had prepared a complaint for which I paid the scribe 12 tangas. Here it is. You may read it if you like. I read only Chinese. There are some words here that you will find most flattering. I petition delay in parting your head from your body until you have discovered the horses. See how solicitous I am for your welfare. Amzi khair ter bhi taki tu ami qise aspaid hal nashda durun naru banazare magar me khay ki ami sar to baltan to basha. I see it all too well. Accept my gratitude, merchant. Bilkul. Then let us go and continue the soothsaying. Happily, you may still have time to find the horses ere nightfall. Wherefore the hurry? I am an enemy of haste. The same as you are. If we have decided to postpone the parting of my head from my body, تن جدا شنا ما عجله نکردم اگر عجله میکردم میتونم سر من دتن نبود. Then why should we not postpone the search for your horses as well? Abzum terbiyetu. What mean you postpone the search for my horses? Have you forgotten that in 3 days' time the races will be held? Much to postpone me to know. Who gets race bad by much is kanamura? Try the Khan. Happily you will find him a willing votary of postponement and he will put off the races for a week or two. Boro ki koshish karo ki wo postpone karna de dukhna nahi. कि दूसरी हफ्ता बोगी की रेस रत पोस्टपोन करके मो पैदा करने आते and tarrying no longer at the gates दिगा इंतजार न करत खोजा नसरुद्दीन turned towards the bazaar रुखसुल बाजार शुद where the rolling drums were escorting the sun to its rest कि ऐलान मशुद कि नाली शाम शुद दुकानदार बन के इनको खाने. In that case, beware, soothsayer, hissed the merchant. As Pesh Gosham Guftaraf, his face becoming distorted with rage. I know you have been bribed. And I know by whom. But I have friends at the court too. These gates will open before me. And then, oh, woe to you, soothsayer, woe to you. Khair to Nia, and to him who has bribed you. Khair Zumnia. But Khoja Nasruddin was out of earshot with the Shni and heard not these threats. Threats of the Hawama. All along his path lay slanting, projecting, jagged shadows like the spines of fabulous monsters crouching there to spring at him, but like an enchanted prince protected by higher powers. Subhanallah shud ki inali matlab shirgir kedim ki the enchanted prince charana waziya Allah famara shadow rather explain mana ki as zo sakhtaman as building as mardum as yo saman kishta hai to kil draz raqam saya haya مشون بازار رأيه أفتح دروت المشنا بس السياحة بريز فقط بقي كده مقايا بريزي مختلف بلاحايا كبريزي هم لكنا but like an enchanted prince يك شاهزادي يك شاهي كريشماتي كلامي من لفظ بهتر نزديكي enchanted explain كنا زيري محافظتي higher powers جماعة هل كرامة صاحب كرامات. He stepped among them boldly and freely, his face raised to the flaming sun. It was sinking into a ridge of airy, fleecy clouds. Airy, honorable. It is thick neater, misli pombal linear. Airy, بسر بريك أمتر تيت كذا باشا. از مني زوكي بز أفتاب كي نوش مزنا. Bathing them in a clear light and promising the earth on the morrow a cool mountain-born wind. ويك نشاني بود كي صبح وي نشاني بود كي سوق كي شد يعني افتاوي ايمي افتاوي كي دراو قدن زي صورة حال دراو تامورا صبح زي منج نوشته ہے هذا وجه sign reading the sign تو میں خواهی که صبح رو معلوم کنی چی رقمه ایمی پیشین رو observe کو یک منشی یاد بگیر هذا وجه خب it was sinking امو داغ آفتابی داغ درو متر غروب مشد into a ridge of airy fleecy clouds مثل غبار اللي كتبنيها bathing them in a clear light. تمام زورا متر فقط مش يدراو رنگ شي جلو مشا مو clouds رنگ شي روشن مشا on مشا فقط بي بال بالي. And promising the earth on the morrow, it means on tomorrow, a cool mountain-born wind. یک هوای ठंडा یخ که از کوه میاد.
Cool breeze.
Deliverance from the torrid heat. یعنی از این آفتابی که در میده از یک روز پناه آرام. That night, as he lay in the chaikhana, he held quiet speech with the one-eyed through the dais. Was quiet speech. من تختي chaikhana كنيه وليش خاموشة؟ هذا زي بزمن مختلف سيجنالاية.
Tap. Hasto.
More than anything, I rejoice that my trust in you has not been deceived. ما استمام زياد خوش زيستم كي تو اعتبار خورنا خوردي بچيش بيرزما. يا ما اعتبار استورنا خوردم. He said, cupping his hands over his mouth to keep his voice from carrying away to the side. Now tell me, why were not the horses in the cave? مگه اعتبار خورد اعتبار استورنا خوردم من لیکن کجای گوڑا کجای What has befallen them? سکار شده. I could not leave them in the cave. اگر مجھے میشتم spies were nosing about everywhere and they had begun to pry in the quarry. ما چمای مبود یک دنا که از دور میگردیم که چند چیزا جاسوسا رام ورم جگا فوراً گفتم بچه کتی کش میدی نارا تیر کو decision making کدوم ما بچه I led the horses out before daybreak از طلوع پیش under cover of the mist توالی غبار بود and removed them to a different place جایش رو بلدی کدوم an empty suburban house از مطلب از دمو کنار شهر دیگه نه داز کم از شهر برو suburb एक house دیگه The conversation ended late تا دیر ناقصی خدن when the night was far spent after receiving full directions for his future conduct the one-eyed disappeared with instruction that कहता है next this is the plan strategy. Khoja Nasreddin turned over from his belly to his back. انت قدروا يخاوت انا قدروا يخاو كده تزانا مليخ كاش كده بس قرار هيك لازم تبوش تخاو كده gave a long yawn يعني كي تدرمني مغا yawning and a minute later had raised the sail of slumber. But the kishti khao. He went forth to the bridge of the beheaded the next morning to find that everyone there already knew about his having been appointed chief soothsayer. دو جای رفت که تمام تاویزگرا already خبر شده که حالی تیز مویه الخوجه که است chief of soothsayer شده. How changed everything was. هر چیز تغییر کرده. In place of the former jeers, he was met with slavish glances, flattering speeches and fawning laughter. خوش آمدی جناب. بفرمایید شما چه خوب آمدین.
شفت.
اولا دی فهمداد خوب بسیار بلندم آره. The skinny old owner of the skull had moved to another niche. थोड़े दिखे बड़े पैदा कर a dark and narrow one. Tarigam Budris Gag. Whence he glowed in low tones like a toothless, decrepit old hound from its kennel. It's like Chagar اللي قدان غارق نشته ونور قمال. His three most trusted favorites, who only yesterday had served him cringingly, had now forsaken him and changed sides. وسيدنا كلود قصديش دروز دمي خان ونتمام على سايد زير قريستي فراموش. With besoms and wet rags in their hands, they were fussing about round the chief niche, preparing the place for his new masters. All a lot of target قريستي أنا خوب صاف كدرية كنا chief niche وتسير ما ينجمش. They bowed lower than anyone else to Khoja Nasreddin. One of them snatched the carpet from his hands and spread it in the niche. Another dusted his boots with his turban, while the third blew upon the Chinese book and scratched its cover lightly with his fingernail as if to remove some peck of dust. Chinese book written. Presently, the grandee himself graced the bridge, with his presence and entered into secret converse with Khoja Nasreddin. He hungered for reassurance, and he received it in full measure. Have you verified the merchant well, soothsayer? Have you plumbed the very lowest depths of his foul designs? I have, Bale, O illustrious lord. So far, there is no danger. Watch carefully. Soothsayer, be vigilant. Before the eyes of all on the bridge, he gave his hand to the soothsayer to be kissed. A favor the like of which had never before been witnessed there. Special adamai. You know for nafar kem day. Shagaba minger netay. Afreshan shudare. Now tell me, last time I forgot to ask you about it. What has become of the horses? Why were they not in the cave? The horses, very simply, I removed them. What do you mean removed them? You were on the bridge and they were in the quarry. Khoja Nasreddin carelessly shrugged his shoulder, as if this were a thing of no consequence. Very simply, I spirited them away through the air. Spirited away. Ruhani taur par maina transfer karo. Through the air. As many awaaz air ke de ho raha. So you can do that too? That is a mere trifle. At the very last moment, when the horsemen had galloped off to the quarry, I discovered through my book that the thieves had extracted the charmed nails from the horseshoe and pulled out the silken threads. Magar amu waqt ki taza ki as sawara morina ki ki boru the quarry ke munj ki madrasa dadam amu waqt ki na raft the kitab ma amu waqt ma akhri wo dona rafta bodiga باز دیدم در کتاب که بایی دوزا امو گولدن نیل را قدم ریشمی داغا بور کده دوزی کده حال اونا با ویلیبل نیه Hence, I decided to abstain from the time being from returning the horses. ما گفتم اونا خود او فرمایش است نیه دیگه باید دیسکور نشنه چون که اونا دوزیش ده نه تا که او 2 سال پیدا نشده قضو نخ و میخ ما گفتم میره فلال فارغ بلی. And to report the matter to my illustrious lord and receive his admonitions on my further conduct. باز گفتم باز که شما مصوره کنم شما چی مگین بایی خو رشمی نخم نیه و چیزم نیه میخم نیه دیگر ما پوستپون کردم یک جای دیگه فلال. Very praiseworthy and sensible soothsayer. خوبش یاری کده اینجی آفرین. I had no choice but to spirit them away. باز ما گفتم دیگه حال را نمانده باید اینا را روحانی طور پر ترانسفر کنم. Very curious indeed. خیلی عجیبه. So you remove them through the air, huh?
Yes.
Just like that? Amitar, tell me, could not the merchant be spirited away in the like manner? मैं खुद ही ताजिर रमना में इतना spirited away करने गायब करने मेरा to some far away place. हाँ चागर मुझे मेरे ख़म कि तू घोड़ारी तर रूहानी तौर पर गायब करे हमें खुद merchant रमना में इतना गायब करने بسيارة go دور far away place. Say for example Baghdad or Tehran, or better still to the land of the infidel, the Zemini Kuf Kafra, where the Franks would take him into slavery. Bazinji Europeae Castenara Ghulam Bigra. Such deeds I cannot perform. Ikara is mania. My power extends only over animals. Happily, maybe in time, practice when I probe deeper into the mysteries. A pity, oh wait, a great pity, sad afsos. There are so many people at the court who, you know, Mame Khaim ki. از هرسی گرفته بچهش از دومی هرسی گرفته شور خورده نمیتونه برام. And his imagination, the تصورات, against his will, pictured a long train of undesirables traveling through the air. In front flew the merchant. بس the imagination خرافت که یاری خوجه تو که یاد بگیرین ویلم روان بس این نارم رین مون دیگرم ضرور فایر رین بچهش از تمام پیش مرچنت رین. Flat upon his back, disheveled of beard and bulging of eyes, trying to kick free from the clutch of Yadgorbek, who clung to him next. Yadgorbek ra moga udo dozuchas matlab हम लाइन इस नाजूर कदा कि इन फरारा इन तो बंदा देख दिए शी ना दरो मायना गायब कदरे. Trying to kick free Ali इना अस पेश कैसा तो मैंने इस मंजर इमेजिनेशन होना की गायब कदनी है मैंने जो कारवान अव्वल कैसा खोदी मर्चेंटा बस यादगारबेक कैसा तो जी चंगा हुआ ना ये तो पास है ये मदरवा ज़माने हवा गायब शुद्ध रही है चंगा हो शुद्ध गिरफ्ता यादगारबेक who clung to him next hanging on to one another came flying the grand vizier वज़ीर आज़म दराव दम गायबाना शामिला the chief tax vizier वज़ीर खजाना और tax the chief justice the keeper of the royal seal मोहर शायर की दिस दरा यानी authority office दिया and a multitude of other officers of the court while the last airborne link In this extraordinary chain, to the grandee's astonishment and horror, was the Lord of the Khanate himself. Select the mini imagination چې خوري خان د دوم بنده ما ورغه کوي. He flew in a sitting posture. وقف پرواز مکد لیکن شتا بود. His body bent slightly forward as if he had been whisked off his throne at the very moment of bending his weighty ears to some new informer. همین شتا بود د پوزی که درو یک مخبر را دگوش چون نورمالی دمزو پوز میشیش نه بس دمزو پوز شتا می پرواز که داری. His robe chapanchi filled with air که از باد پر شده billowed upwards, disclosing his meager underpants draped in shalwars with red and green embroidery. Ki chapanch ke bal shuda khali shalwar malum mi dasta. All this slashed past and disappeared. Image amad raft. His head reeling and his ears ringing from a vision so seductive. And powerless, the grandee fell to coughing and mumbling, wondering in what manner such hideous feelings as those that had suddenly displayed themselves in the hindermost link of the airborne could have slipped past the tall gate of his reason and penetrated the innermost recesses of his soul. Story image मतलब तमाम इंतजार तेर के देखिए दिल में नक्शा विशेष तो मैंने शगाफ दरम दे. And he came to the conclusion that sedation, like a subtle perfume, had the power of being conveyed without bodily agencies and without the aid of words. बगावत गद्दारी वो तो चीज़ नहीं तो بالبريز words لازم نشتغلش. ونادي ده عجيب وغريب طريقة كذا كمانيكيت مش خيالات عامة وبسكارة وحركتها سرزد مش كده من الدقوق ورمفهمة كباي ما غداري كده. At this point, his thoughts turned to the soothsayer. باز متوجه تعویزگر شد گفت to be sure it was he with his spells who evoked that wicked and evil-minded vision before him. ये तमाम इस खातिर में जादूगर कि मायत ख्यालात आमे organismen. Ali musawala mukana daro justify mukana ki it's not me, it's him. He is far too dangerous. خيلي خطرية. He knows too much. He spirits things away through the air. Mani hawa ghaib makashdara. As soon as he has done what is required of him, I shall immediately perform the act of precaution upon him. As baad bas Mahmud yumna amr rakira sar kalam karota aur bas main janta. Silence reigned upon the bridge long after the grandee had quitted it. Then the soothsayers came forward to Khoja Nasreddin one after another with their gifts. Al-grandee rafta ina maithana se inni very small. One deposited on the carpet before him 50 pieces of silver. Like the Neshi, Pinjan Nukra, Kasika, Peshanda. Another 70, another still more, each according to his income. Thus, on the very first day, Khoja Nasreddin came to know the two chief characteristics of his new position. With the new position is to do khasiyat dara. On the medium rung of the ladder of authority, namely reassurance to those above and the receiving of gifts from those below. Finally, no position ke mai aftoni do karamat dara, do khasiyat dara, do shanakht dara, do demand aziriya. Ki bal wala dil chir bigar tasalli iznara ki bacha everything is all right. Bas tha wala ki mikan ni bacha diga zabita bugin dalo. ويعني منجي أميز الدين را جمعني ما منجي كدل مم جمشنا شغاف مم كستك كم منتر النام شنا كم كرم شنا The old skull possessor came forward last and silently placed 150 pieces of silver upon the carpet, more than anyone else. Wan and haggard, wounded to the very heart by his downfall, he was pitiful to look at. But he showed a proud and defiant mien. Nevertheless, the anguish that stood like dark water in his old eyes was visible to all, and all understood him. That morning, he had cleaned up his greatest treasure, the magic skull. With sand, polished it with oil, and set it in a conspicuous place. That skull now was his last hope, his last refuge. Moved by pity, Khoja Nasreddin pushed the old man's money back. حالا زیر که دید که یه خود شکست خورده از چیف سودسیر جای شکست دیگه گرفته همه دی روپی موده دینی یک نیم ست سلورم پیش ششت باز نصرالدین که دید بازم پیسیش بگیره پس نمیخوایم. Take it. I need it not. The old man drew his breath in with a hiss, and a green ugly light blazed in his eyes. It is not enough for you? You have taken my all and still it's not enough? Happily you would like me to give you my skull as well, huh? पैसे पेश ना मगर बस नहीं है तमाम चीज़ मुझे गिरफ्ते दिखा बाज़म बस नहीं दिल तुम्हें खाया कम कोपड़ी रम तुर भी तो
खाटू सर
I need it not. Khoja Nasreddin said gently, take your money, keep your skull without fear. I need nothing from you. Let me tell you your fortune to you. The old man choked with fury. You would tell me my fortune, me, who have been sitting upon this bridge for 40 years? Me, the possessor of the skull, you who but yesterday disgraced us all with your mendacious soothsaying? Nevertheless, listen, said Khoja Nasreddin, opening his book. Be comforted, Arambash. Your troubles will be short-lived and fleeting. Before this month is out, all your honors and the income occurring therefrom shall be returned to you. The stealer of your prosperity will disappear. Bakhtwaz fade away like a spring morning mist, and not save the memory of him will linger long here upon the bridge, when his name shall become known. But enough. The Chinese characters have become blurred in my sight, and I cannot make them out. Sabarku bas deziyat fahmidanam shaz baat chi. Gut kheli khub musha, awzaid khub musha, tamami mushkilat hal musha. The old man drew back, glancing askance at Khoja Nasreddin and not knowing what to think. Whether this new one was making mock of him, maskhara muqaddarao, or whether the sudden shock of great fortune had turned his brain. He had himself in his niche and cowered there in a sullen silence. But further misfortune overtook him there. The sneers and jibes of his once servile underlings. Hey, you! They shouted, laughing mockingly. Why do you not collect your tithe? I don't know what that is. He has postponed the affair till tomorrow. He's waiting for the illustrious Lord to grant him the right to half of our income. ممكن أصدي منتظرة كي कुछ कमाई ना मितना लेकिन खाने को कब गया ग्रैंडी साहब की निस्बी पैसे मोरी भी दी मुफ्त डाली नहीं he is simply tired of being the chief soothsayer मगर नहीं बेखैज अज़िकार रही कि Sardari Tavisgara Vashak Mandashda, and has relinquished that post of his own free will. This Khabal ka zikar. Being themselves vile, Kamina ki una budan tamamshi, and contemptible man, Qabil Tanafur, they supposed all men to be the same, as doubted not that their shouts and jeers were agreeable to Khoja Nasreddin. They had heard his soothsaying by the Chinese book. Shindabud ki Khoja Nasreddin Talias Kitab Chini Selna, and true to their base mold, had interpreted his soothsaying as malicious mockery of a fallen adversary. And Ali Ura Arkar Kiumuna Ura Istamalna Kivareziki, the Kasdigara Maskarakana. Amu Harif Shiki, Shikast Horda. Put away that skull of yours. It has offended our side too long, they cried. Each vying with the other in currying favor with the new chief. New chief from Canada. You pass it off as a human skull, but anyone can see at a glance that it is that of an ape. Hey, forsooth, an ape's, and a rotten one at that. In a tamam maskhara nadara. The old man could endure anything but not the abasement of his skull. Faqat gufti kopriz marda nazdin. Arkar kiman kanen irbad nagin. Kifsar khosh darevra. May your hair grow inward in your brain through the bone of your own skull. Khuda kana ki inmi muyaitu olta kichna wa damagh sari khud darbaya. Hakim, oh vile snake cherished in my bosom. Oh, Hakim. Oh, Mariastin. He snarled from out of his niche. You have forgotten how I picked you up under this same bridge, a hungry, dirty, ragged brat. Aziyat tarafta? Ki kataigar budi tu jam kadma urdu min jek jay mai dum breto. Tu rasambal kadma mi al tu jawab shirmiti mar. And befriended you. Dost khujor kadam baytura. Treated you as son, Mr. Bashir or Turnegakadam, fed you and clothed you and taught you the art of soothsaying. Turta is the doyadadum. Itamam Hassan as Martaminati Jamidi al Mar Maskarani. And now, how do you requite me? And you, Adil, you, may you be turned inside out with your entrails dangling in the open, and may a scorpion sting you in your exposed liver. Madwanam ki amitar ulta suki ek dafa bedar shuni, amitar tamami durun tu burom da basha, aur amu jigar tu kesta ek dana gajdum kesta dangs de rahi hai. Imita dwanam ki shuni tu. Have you forgotten, aziyat tarafta, how I saved you the year before last from the whips and the dungeons as bandiu as qamchintur nijadadam by paying your debt of 740 tangas out of my own purse. After the chil tanga ma qarzbari is turada kadum ki tu jail bachao shne. To almare qazmai tarne. From these words, Khoja Nasreddin learnt with surprise that this old bag of bones, who presented such an odious aspect and engaged in such a nefarious occupation as soothsaying, which was unavoidably connected with spying. Had preserved intact beneath the slit of sordid living that clogged his soul of the clear gushing spring of kindly feeling. He did not take his part. However, bearing in mind his speedy restoration to his former office and the condign retribution that awaited the ingrate. Noon was drawing nigh. The sun blazed, and the heat flowed over the roofs with a shimmer as if of molten glass. شيشي أو كذا بلي بعمق سلكني مثل شيشي أو كذا. The flagstone on the bridge gave off a dry, baking heat, like a potter's oven. There was not a breath of wind. The leaves on the trees had wilted, and the birds had hidden themselves in the shade and were silent. परिंदाम खुद साया पुट के था ये कदर गर्मी है यानी जब मैंने एक दाना पैराग्राफ बड़े तो गुफ्त की चख्त गर्मी एक तो भी खुद फील की. In the distance, the sound of drums and trumpets arose, followed by the voices of town criers. Soon they appeared upon the bridge and announced the farman respecting the Khan's great mercy. Al-Elan Garanda ki Elan Bishtavid Khan Khayli Raham Farmuda Intakada Untakada. The soothsayers exchanged looks of fearful wonderment. Too great a stir had this new master of theirs created around himself. التمام कोई गहरा शुरू किया बस कुछ तमाम किस्सा की कोई नहीं नसरुद्दीन नाली बचाओ ये मतलब से आपको बात है मैं फलाना. These thoughts of theirs were shared by Khoja Nasreddin himself. Indeed, there was too much noise to his liking. And behind the bright image of mercy, his inner sight warned him of the near presence of precaution. ये जो मेहरबानी हो रही है इसके पास कहरमानी भी हो जाएगा. This is the case of I think we're dealing with Khoja Nasreddin's new position and हम औज़ा व हालात की तबने ब्रिज बुत की जो तमाम तावीज़ गराज हम शदद अली सरदार